Hello class, we're going to talk more about checking today in our Unit 2.2 lesson. Today's lesson is going to focus a little bit more on the uglier side of having accounts. We're going to get into fees and charges that you may occur with a bank account. One of the first things we're going to do is identify the common checking account fees and how to avoid those fees. We're going to explain an overdraft. Remember from our vocabulary list a couple days ago, an overdraft is when you spend more than you have. We're going to explain overdraft protection and if it really works and what it really protects. We're going to look at reading a checking account summary and also comparing overdraft policies at major U.S. banks. Something we would like you to ponder. Imagine you are at an event that you bought tickets for. You want to buy a souvenir from one of the vendors, but realize that you don't have any cash. They only accept cash. So you go over to an ATM and find out that they are going to charge you $3 for making a withdrawal. Do you accept it? Why or why not? Souvenir worth the extra $3. One of the most common fees that banks charge is called an overdraft fee. You're going to watch this video below and answer the following questions. The questions are, what is misleading about the term overdraft protection? True or false, once you are signed up for overdraft protection, you cannot opt out. Number 3, what else did Sharon do to avoid the future overdraft fees? Please click the video now and pause this one. To the next slide. In the previous video, you saw that Sharon had set up some alerts so that she could avoid expenses and bank fees. We're going to skim this article together and find out what kinds of alerts that you can set up to avoid fees as well. Then you are going to answer these questions. I will read those before we skim. In your own words, briefly describe the benefits of 2 of the 7 types of alerts. Number 2, while all 7 of the alerts are highly recommended, which one do you think is the most important? And please tell us why. Okay, hopefully you've opened up this article, 7 mobile banking alerts for everyone. You could do this on the dual screen or on a separate tab. Alert number 1, the low balance alert. This alert gives you a heads up when your balance drops below a certain amount. It might let you know if you have $20 left in your account or $500 left in your account, or you might even be able to set that number. It's helpful to know when you have a low amount of funds so that you don't accidentally spend more than your account has. 2, direct deposit alert. Here you'll expect to see when money is put into your account, like from your employer. Number 3, the unusual account activity alerts, or even credit card companies sometimes allow you to sign up for these alerts. They'll notify you when you have activities that they consider abnormal. For example, a large amount of money was transferred out of your account all at once. Could be concerning. When this sort of thing happens, the bank has a red flag and they send you an alert. Those who tend to use this type of mobile alert are slightly more likely to detect when something fraudulent or unauthorized is happening to their account. Number 4, purchase alerts. Large purchase alerts are alerts that some banks allow you to sign up for when things happen like a dozen TVs are bought on your account. If something unusual happens, you'll want to know about it as soon as possible, especially if you're not in the habit of making those types of purchases. 5, large ATM withdrawal alerts. Here you will get alerts if a huge chunk of money is taken out of your account when usually you don't take that much money out of your account. Debit card alerts. Debit card alerts, although potentially could be a nuisance, they can also be helpful. You may have a chance to ask the bank to let you know every time somebody uses the debit card. This may allow you to decline the ATM or debit card use, protecting you in case your card or identity gets stolen. Profile change alerts may remind you that it's time to change your password or account information. The reason this might be helpful is so that if people were to get a hold of your account information, you're frequently changing it may prevent them from being able to hack into it. Let's go back to our interactive notebook and answer those questions that we had previously read. So based on the 7 Mobile Banking Alert article that we just skimmed through, and feel free to go back and read it some more, you are going to answer these 3 questions, or I'm sorry, these 2 questions. 2 alerts that you'd like to use in number 1. And then in number 2, while all 7 alerts are highly recommended, which one do you feel is most important and why?
All right, everybody, who's sick of listening to Mr. Benson? It's time to take a break, get up, go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, grab a snack, do 5 jumping jacks, and come back ready to learn some math.
Activity of the day. Each bank has its own terms and fees for different types of accounts. You're going to use this fine print activity to get some practice reading and understanding these terms. Follow the directions on the worksheet to complete this activity. You have a couple of choices on ways that you could submit your information. This activity can be completed in class using the attached handout or the activity Google form, but we've also included it on the next 2 slides, like yesterday's, where you move the green ovals onto your answers. Please be aware that there may be more ovals than there are answers. Some of the answers require you to circle or oval all that apply. Again, we may have created more ovals than answers. The questions that I just showed you on the next 2 pages are based off of this fine print checking account agreement form. Hopefully you can open up a split screen or a second tab so you can work on this as well as answering the questions as we go. I will read through part of this fine print and allow you to read your questions as you go. What we're about to look at is a sample of a checking account agreement. When you set up an account, they go over and hand you paperwork that explains the rules about your account. Sometimes this is really overwhelming, but it's important to understand things like minimum balances and overdraft fees and other types of information like how many times or how often you can use a card so that you don't have to pay extra fees or penalties. On this banking account summary, it talks about the different types of accounts they have. It talks about minimum deposits. It talks about monthly payment fees. And there, as you see here, there's different types of accounts. So depending on your type of account, you may have a different fee. So pay attention to that when you're looking at the questions. It talks about requirements and waiving monthly maintenance fees and who qualifies for that. Sometimes it's based on age. Sometimes it's based on how much money you have in an account. So you're going to look at these qualifications here when you try to answer your questions. Interest-bearing accounts. Now we've talked that savings accounts earn interest, but some types of checking accounts earn interest as well. ATM fees. Sometimes you get charged fees for how many times you use an ATM or what ATMs you use, so you're going to want to pay careful attention to this and also make considerations when you're taking money out of an ATM, whether you have to pay a service charge or not. Is it worth it? Do you really need to make that purchase with cash at that point in time? Other ATM fees. Non-sufficient funds or insufficient fund fees. Deposited return fees. Stop payment fees, like if you write a check and then you realize that you don't want to pay that person, you sometimes or frequently will incur a fee to totally cancel that check. Another option, if you haven't given it up, would be to write void on the check and keep it for yourself. Sometimes you're charged fees to close accounts. Sometimes you're charged fees to have statements like paper statements. There are also other service fees. As we move on to the next page, there's non-overdraft services and overdraft transfer fees, other overdraft fees. Moving down, there's different policies. You're going to find answers to the questions within these pages. These questions here below, you don't need to do because they are on our sheet right here. Activity 2.2. I believe there's 2 pages of questions. I take that back. There's 2.5 pages of questions. After you've answered number 10, I want you to head back to our class Schoology page and just double check that there's nothing else in the folder you need to complete. You can also go back to the gradebook and see if there's anything missing and use the rest of the time to complete those things. Remember that your meal and grocery list was due on Sunday. If you haven't done that activity, the rest of the class would be a great time to finish that as well. Have a good day.